Yeah, I'm sitting here Christmas Day. I'm reflecting on what I've done over the past 4 years um, or so. Uh, Really spectacular as far as financial stuff goes. One of the things I wanted to show how quickly you can take a small amount of money and it can really turn into something special, especially when we're looking at these triples. So I wanted to go over something. My first professional career really was when I started EDS back in 1988. Now, I'm an IT guy, um, and they have a 10-week training program, or they did then. Um, EDS was really the premier provider of outsourcing services at that time. Ross Perot's old company sold it to GM, and then after the non-compete, after 5 years, he went and opened Perot Systems. Anyway, it was a great place to work in your 20s. Um, Stayed a little bit long there. Um, I was there for 8.5 years. Doubled my salary the first contract I took after that. But it was a good training ground, and so I don't really regret spending my 20s um, there. Um, Graduated college in 1985 at Virginia Tech. Um, and so it took till 1988 to get my first real job. I did go back to North Texas State University for a year, and I was going to go into get a master's in computer science. And I went and interviewed at EDS eventually, um, and then got hired there. So that was really my start. Um, so fast forward to around 2016, um, EDS was looking at their portfolio of pensions that they had, retirement that they had, because they had an old school retirement plan, and they valued my retirement at that point at 38,100. Um, Now I could have taken $365 a month at 65. That would have been my normal retirement for this 8.5 years that I was there. Or I could take $38,100 and then do whatever I wanted to with it. And so I opened up a rollover account and decided to go ahead and take the $38,100 now. Why did I do that? Um, I was trading stocks at the time, and I thought, well, I'd have the money now, and who knows at 65 what would happen. And could I generate $365 a month at 65? And what could I trade it? Um, what could I trade it at? Trade it up to by 65. So I was thinking, maybe I could run it up to $100,000 if I actually kept it and didn't spend it. Um, and if I spent it, I would take a 10% penalty for taking it out. And of course, you can't do that. So I rolled it over to an IRA. I opened up Roth, not a Roth, but a rollover IRA, just a traditional rollover IRA. And I did that in Fidelity. So I put $38,000 in there. Um, I did some trading. I was trading probably every week, um, and I would take small gains. And by doing that, I doubled it fairly quickly um, in the next year that I had the money. And um, at that time, I was looking at real estate, and during the same time, this 4 year period, I had two rentals, and during this time, I rented up to 28 rentals. So I have 28 rental units now, and then I've got another three that I'm rehabbing, and I'm not sure I'll make one, at least one of them a rental, maybe two of them. One of them I think we're going to keep as a beach house. So anyway, um, so around 2016, if I have all this information right, this is about how it went. The figures might be a little bit off a little bit, but about the way it went is that I ran it up to about $62,000 in the stock market the first year. Second year I ran it up to 72,000. So I guess that was almost double. And then I took out $36,000, and at that time I bought a house for about $24,000, and then I had some other mobile homes that I have 13 mobile homes on a farm that I have. Farm. Let's say it's not a working farm. It's 23 and a half acres. So 23 and a half acres that I have, I got 13 mobile homes on it. No, I'm sorry, 12 mobile homes and one old house, and I rent those out, and actually cash flows quite a bit of money on it. So of this $36,000, I took about $24,000, bought a new house, and that new house I now rent it out for $700 a month. It's a 2-bedroom. It came on 1.5 acres. It's out in the county, and so and I'm in Dallas, Texas. So this house was over in Hunt County, over in a place called Lone Oak. Anyway, it was a foreclosure, and I did some fix up on it. Not a lot of fix up. Well, I would say a moderate remodel. We rewired it like we do a lot of them. Anyway, I'm going to show you what I did with the $38,000 though. So I bought a house with it, and it generates $700 a month income. Now, at this time, I went on to Social Security website, and you can go in there and put how much wages you think you're going to make in the next so many years, and it told me that I get about $1,900 if I took early retirement at 62. My wife's younger than I am by about 5 years, so she'll probably, I'm 57 this year. When I'm taping this, it's Christmas of 2020, about 6 o'clock in the morning, and she's about 5 years younger than I am. So she plans on working till 65, and she now carries the health insurance for us. So everybody has that thing. I guess you can do Obamacare. We haven't really looked into that. If you're wealthy enough, I guess you could do Obamacare. But you're kind of caught in that thing where most people. Somebody has to work. The youngest person has to work till they're 65 to get Medicare, and so that's probably what we'll do. I'm 57, so I guess in 8 years I'd get Medicare. Technically, I could retire now. I suppose I have enough income now, so I could retire. But I just took another contract. Anyway, we'll get into that. So, with my EDS retirement, what I did is I I ran it up to 72,000 in the second year. Took out about half of it, right at half of it. Bought a house. Uh, Added a little bit in 2018. 2018 was a rough year, so I added about 4,000 to it, about 10%, a little bit more. But in 2019, I played TCL, and I could have made 180%, I think, for the year, but I got out of it a couple of times. I traded in and out of it, and I ended up making 140% for the year. So, I mean, I guess I could have made 180%, but I made 140%. Sort of kicked myself a little bit because I could have done better, but wow, 140% is just crazy good. So anytime I double my money in a year, I mean, I'm not gonna cry about that. Now this year, I've done about 55%. I'm right at 54%. So we're gonna say 55% for the end of the year, and that would make it about 149,000. So. So basically in 4 years, so 17, 18, 19, 20, from 2016 to 38,000, bought a house that I get $700 a month for. So you figure taxes, a few other expenses, figure you make $7,000 cash flow after you pay the taxes, assuming that you have to pay $1,000 in taxes at the end of the year or the beginning of the next year, whatever. So I had $140,000, $49,000 left, and I'm getting $700 a month on the house. So look at if I would have waited till I was 65, I would have got $365 a month. And so I'm already getting $700 a month on the house that I bought. And so, even accounting for taxes or whatever, and that's fairly, when you buy rental property, it's pretty much indexed with inflation. You can have fix-up costs. We do all our fix-up costs. So anyway, so what have I done here? I took my retirement that I'll get at 62. If I decide to take it at 62, my Social Security, we get around $1,900 a month. And at 65, I think I'd get 2,600, something like that. I'd have to look at it, but here I am getting $700 a month for a house for the $38,000 retirement. Now, I didn't think much of the $38,000 retirement when I got it, but if you look at it now, I got 8 more years until I turn 65. If I did 24% a year with the $149,000 that I have from the EDS retirement, if you look at it that way, then I mean it's possible that I could turn it into $1 million. I mean, that's the math. If you do $149,000 and you times it times 1.24 and you do it 8 times, you end up with $1 million, over $1 million. So that'd be impressive. I've been doing that better than that the last several years, not just the couple of years I'm showing here, but the last several years I've done that or more. During this time, the last several years, I had worked for 8.5 years for an IT company, and I wasn't making a ton of money. I was making right at 6 figures, but a little bit under 6 figures. And I took it because it was a full-time position. I got full benefits, and my wife wanted me to take, instead of taking contract jobs, to take this job, and we could go on vacations or whatever like that. So I did that, and I was saving near the maximum the last couple of years, which at that point I think it was about $24,000 a year, $25,000 a year. And I think you can save $19,500 plus another $6,500, so you can save $26,000 a year in your 401k, and you can also, and then plus whatever the matching is, which they had a small match there, so it wasn't really a big deal. But you can also put $7,000 in a Roth account, which I'm not doing. We do have two small Roth accounts each. We put 5 grand in some time ago and lost some of the money, and then now I think both of them are back at right around 5 grand. So these are old accounts. So any person, I guess, could put 26,000. If you're over 50, you can put 26,000 in your 401k and another 7,000 in your Roth account. And I think the way to go for most people is put 7,000 in the Roth account and then just match your 401k. That would be my advice. Anyway, so over that period of time, I'd been doing this real estate stuff, and I could see dollar signs in my eyes that I was going to be able to. My original, since I was about 12 years old, I always thought if you could make 3 grand a year, 3 grand a month in rental income, total cash flow, at least at 3,000 of spendable money that you could use, then you could essentially live off of that. And so that was my goal in the real estate, and it had been my goal for many years. I've owned rentals since I was since the early '90s. So I learned the rental game. Wasn't particularly profitable for me. I won't say I wasn't good at it, but I did learn a lot of skills along the way. So I owned three condos at one time in Plano. I lived in one of them, and then I owned 2 houses in Garland for several years. And then in 2008, I basically went broke. Decided to do real estate. Went ahead and got my real estate broker's license, and then I went back in IT at some point. And so when I went back in IT, I was essentially broke at that point. Although I had kept the 25 and a half acres that I had bought in Leonard, Texas, and that 25 and a half acres had an old mobile home on it that I put there at some point. And I sold 2 acres of it to my sister, and so I had 23 and a half acres left. Anyway, that's kind of the whole story about that. So I did have that, and I paid it off, and I kept it, for my homestead, so protected from creditors and stuff like that in 2008. And so I didn't have good credit then, and so fast forward 12 years later, all of that is done with, and I own several houses now, and we own free and clear. We have very little debt that's not covered by cash that we have in the bank or whatever. So we have some debt, and we have some debt that we haven't paid just because we're not paying interest on it. And so we have a large Home Depot account that we do for 24 months no interest or 12 months no interest, and it really helps when you're turning a rental around. Anyway, so I'd taken out money in real estate several times, but around 2019 I had $95,000 thereabouts, and like I said, I made 140% in 2019, and so the $95,000 turned into $228,000, and the money I had in the EDS retirement, about $40,000 turned into $96,000. So that was really good. And then this year, I started with, a little over 300 and some $1,000, and now I'm at $502,000 as of Christmas 2020. In the meantime, interest rates got so low that I really love the Dave Ramsey stuff of not going into debt. So my rentals, I have no debt on them, and we've paid off all of our debt. And we did go into debt a couple of times to buy some of these low cost rentals, but we paid cash for them. And we did rob from our retirement a few times to do that. I could see that I was going to make $10,000 a month in rental income, and at some point I said, "What the hell? If I can make $10,000 in rental income, I made it, and who cares if I have anything in the stock market?" But so that's why I used quite a bit of money, probably over $100,000, I would imagine, in the real estate, and then more than that from my earnings. I mean, I was putting everything that I made, and still do, to grow the real estate and such. And so now, I took 2019 off. My contract ended. I got let go, but my contract ended in 2019, and then in 2020 I got another contract, 6-figure contract. I'm an old IT guy that does mainframe programming, so most of the contracts I get. Well, I wouldn't take a contract unless it paid 140 grand, 120 grand at least. I mean, fairly high paying job with the experience that I have. So anyway, I decided to go ahead and get back into IT. It just made sense. The market had went down some in 2020. It was really rough to begin with. I'd lost most of my money. I was down, quite a bit. I mean, with all this COVID and stuff like that, the market just really crashed around March, I guess, sometime like that. Came back, doubled my money and more, and the market came roaring back. And so that's one of the things you got to watch is, especially when you got a large amount of money, you just don't want to take it out when the market really, really tanks, because then that'll, kind of screw you. So this year, 2020, the rates just went down so low, and I was doing so good in the market that I decided, and I don't know if this would be a good thing to do, but we took a home equity loan out at my urging on our primary residence, which is probably worth about $150,000, something like that. It's a modest house. We live modestly, and so we took a $100,000 home equity loan. And then with home equity loans, there's no real cost for the loan, and I think it was at around 3.75%, something like that. And I thought, I just frankly thought I could make a lot more money in the market, and I figured, well, the first $8,000 I made, I told my wife I really like to buy a boat, and so a few days ago we bought a used, I think it's a 1992. It's been in really condition though. 1992 24-foot party barge pontoon boat, and so we haven't taken it out yet. Got it sitting in the driveway, and so I think I've taken about 10 grand out, and looks like I have another $9,000 in there now. So right around $20,000 total. And I haven't had the $100,000 very long. So looking at our IRA, looking at my IRA, I'm at about right at $500,000, $502,000 today, right around there. And the cash account that I put the $100,000 in, the home equity loan, I have $109,000 now, and I think I took over $10,000 out before. So let's say we made about $20,000 this year, which we'll have to pay some taxes on, because it's just a cash account. Now, in doing all this real estate stuff, in January this year, I saw what I thought was a really good deal over in Blossom, Texas. We saw a good house, which is near Paris, Texas. We saw a house come up as a foreclosure. It's a nice brick house, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, light remodel. Had a few small issues that probably scared some people away. With these foreclosures, they really want cash, and so to get the cash, I urged my wife to take a loan out on her 401k. So she took $50,000, which is the maximum loan you can take out on a 401k. She took it out, and she bought the house with it. And then I think that year she took $1,500 of it for Christmas, and so she had $11,500 left over in 2020. And well, she took the loan out and did it all. And by March, we had the place rented for $800 a month. So I think we bought it for $37,000 and rented it for $800, which I thought was a great deal. I mean, the house is really nice. I mean, we remodeled it and put new heat pump in it for $3,600. I paid for that out of my pocket, and then for their fix up, repainted it and put used appliances in it and everything. So anyway, so for her $50,000, she had $11,500, and now I've run it up to over $20,000. So she has a small cash account in Fidelity, and I'm able to trade on it, but it's her account. So in Fidelity, if I pull my Fidelity accounts up, I have about $630,000, $631, something like that, in my Fidelity account. Now, we've got, she's got one with her employer where she works. And if I move this down a little bit, for her employer, she's got another $90,000. And then I have a small Webull account, and then I think we have another $5,000 in each in a Roth account that is an old Roth account that, like I said, we had done some trading with it. We first put it in there, and then we had lost some money, and then it's back about a little above even. So there's about $10,000 in there. So if we add all those together, I guess total we have about $736,000 in retirement accounts now. You know, do you really count the house that she bought this year and some of the real estate that I bought as part of retirement? I guess you can look at that however you want to. Anyway, we on my farm that 23 and a half acres that I have, I put 12 mobile homes on there. I've got an old house up there that we redid the inside. The outside still doesn't have siding on it. I rent it for $500. I rent the mobile homes from $600 to $800, and anyway, those are all paid. The septics for them were about $60,000, and we paid all of that off. And so the whole real estate thing, at some point we had taken on, you know, a considerable amount of debt for the rehab fees and stuff like that. Anyway, it was over $100,000, and we got on the other side of that and we paid it all off. So the last 4 years, we've essentially went from 2 rentals to 28 rentals, and in the meantime, went from, you know, a little over $100,000 to now $500,000, and then my wife's 401k, you know, went up another, you know, almost, well, 90,000, so almost another 100,000. So I guess we were at around $600,000 um, in a little over $600,000 in retirement, and then um, the loan on the home equity loan is about $700 a month. So the real estate's kicking off about $16,000 a month, and of course sometimes we don't have tenants in maybe one of the units, and we're having to rehab it. Um, these low cost units are just, I mean, it's hell to manage them. I mean, when people move out, it's just terrible. But it's a lot of work as far as that, and I self manage them while still having my job. But um, you know, kicking off six figures. So let's look at this year. So this year, um, I realize I rambled here some, but this year, um, looking at, I took a contract job for $140,000 a year. It's about $70 an hour, and I don't get any benefits or anything like that. So it depends on how you look at it. Is that good or not? But anyway, that's what I did. So about $140,000 a year contract job. My wife makes about 50,000. I didn't put that on here. I just put mine. So 140,000. I guess you could add 50,000 to these numbers for her job. She's still working. We're both working at home right now during the COVID. And then rental income, like I said, it's about $16,000 a month. I've got a guy that works for me full time. I pay him a couple $100 a month, and then I pay for his truck payment. I bought him a truck. I've already paid the truck off, but anyway, so I don't really own a loan on the truck, but he gets that. I gave him a $400 Christmas bonus this year, so there's that cost. Pay for his car insurance, pay for his electricity, pay for his cell phone, and then there's some other expenses that I pay. So he doesn't make that much. He just started getting Social Security. So he turned 62, and he gets about $800 in Social Security, I think. So anyway, it works for us. In the stock market, if I project that I make 40% next year, doing these, selling these puts and staying in the triples, either TCL or what I've been trading, lately is the TQQQ, which is the top 100 NASDAQ stocks, tripled. And if you look at the 5 and 10 year charts on this, both of them are spectacular. So it's not a stretch that I can make 40% on the $600,000 next year. And if you look at the figures that we have, that's going to be really close to get us to the $1 million mark if you add the wife's account and everything together. And that's that's my big goal for this year, is to hit the $1 million mark with what we have in invested funds. I'm gonna go ahead and throw in the $100,000 that we have on the home equity loan and act like that's my money too. So anyway, so on the $600,000 that we got, not counting the wife's account, can we run that up to 850, 840, 850, and then maybe we can find a way to cover the rest of it. The wife's paying her loan back, and she's putting the maximum in. I'm not adding anything to her 401k. I've thought about putting 14 grand in our Roth accounts, so I might do that before the end of the year. Don't know about that. That might happen. But if we look at the contract job, which I just took a contract job. I just took a contract job recently, paying $140,000, and then we look at the rental income, and let's say it's around $120,000 because there are some expenses in there. If you took 12 times 16, you're going to get a bigger number than that. So that's going to be a bigger number than 120, but I figure 120 would be $10,000 a month out of the 16. So that's probably more like what would be reasonable, I think. And then if we did 240 in the stock market, which would be 40% of the 600 that we're trading, I guess we got 631, so it's really a little bit lower than that. And then we got another 15,000, so we're really trading 646, so it'd be less than 40%. You know, and this isn't including the wife's $50,000 that she makes, and so we're looking at $500,000 for an old hillbilly like me. $500,000 a year is just crazy, but I could legitimately do that next year. So let's see if it happens. Let's run it up. Let's see if it happens in 2021. 2021 could be really good. So we've got another $50,000 in there that the wife makes for wiggle room. So, and we might make more than 40% next year. You never know. Might make less. We'll see. So anyway, just wanted to go over what had been done here. If you look here, what I'm talking about here is that you know, can I turn in the next 8 years? Can I turn what is effectively $149,000 that I've made, turn the $38,000 into, even after buying a house with part of it? Well, really, I took half of it out, so I'd be at $300,000 now if I wouldn't take half. But who knows? Something else might have happened. I might have went crazy and did something. So, can we turn that into $1 million? That 149,000? Yeah, maybe. So, let's see. That would be really impressive. That an old $38,100 amount that EDS paid me in retirement that would have made me $365 makes me a millionaire. That would be crazy. So, in net worth, we're looking at probably about $2.4 million. The real estate's a little bit. This is low cost real estate, so it's really hard to project a price on that all the time. And then my farm kicks off about $8,000 a month, something like that, $8,500 a month. So what is that? And then the acreage, it's worth $10,000 an acre now. So the place has really grown up. So I put a bunch of crappy mobile homes on property that now is worth $10,000 an acre. So the property's worth probably $300,000 without the mobile homes there. Paid $60,000 to put septic systems there, or aerobic systems there, and then you got the mobile homes, 12 mobile homes in one old house. So what is all of it worth? I'm thinking maybe $800,000. So it depends on how you do it, how you look at the real estate that you have. What would be reasonable if you actually had to sell it? But with the $500,000 or so that we have in retirement, 600,000 plus, then if you add all the real estate that we have that's paid and everything, we're looking at about $2.4 million. So I'm legitimately a millionaire for sure. And so, and this is really great, taking that from 2008 when we were definitely cash broke at that point. But we've done really well since then. But really, most of this has happened in the last 4 years. Most of it's happened in the last 4 years. Somebody has $100,000 in their 401k after working and being 50 years old. That's not really that big a deal, right? That's pretty normal. But turning that in the next 4 years into over $500,000 is pretty impressive. So that's where we are, and that'll give you some idea for where I'm at going forward. And so I'm really looking at a retirement of potentially having $30,000 a month. We don't have any kids, and so I'm looking at spending the money, whatever we can throw off after $1 million, just spending it. And the $100,000 that we got as a home equity loan, to me, that's spendable cash. As I make more money in my IRA, do I really need more than $1 million? I'm thinking I don't. So I'm thinking that we should live a little bit larger. Now, we do live cheaply. Like I said, our house is worth about $150,000. It's a frame house. It's paid for now. We paid for it over a year ago. Might be 2 years ago. And the truck that I drive has about 450,000 miles on it. So, and then it's a 2003, and then my wife, she's got a 2013 Terrain that's of course paid off. But and she wants a new car, so we'll see what goes on there. But that's what I'd like to do, is run it up to $1 million, and then after that, then whatever we make, if we can just keep it at $1 million, whatever we make over that, then I think I'm very comfortable in spending it. And so we'll see how that goes.